Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Thank you for joining us today. Again, if you just joined and we are recording, and if you do not want to be in the recording, if you don't want your face showing, you can go ahead and turn off your camera, and that's perfectly okay. Also, feel free to use the chat feature to ask questions. I may not be able to answer them during the course of today's webinar, but I will certainly answer them after, and I'm going to explain that in a little bit. Thank you for playing Boggle. I hope you enjoyed it.
That was fun.
So why don't we go ahead? Let's see, I've got one chat here. Okay. Sharon says, my Wi-Fi is weak and I have to move to a different computer. Be right back. That's okay, Sharon. We're not going anywhere. And as I said, don't be afraid of missing out, because this will be recorded and you can go ahead and share it with others. We'll talk a little bit about that more in a minute. Or you know what? Hey, there's no time like the present. This is the second in a series of free webinars I'm offering on distance learning. And I will tell you that unfortunately, so even if you can't attend, the webinars are still available for you to share with your colleagues, your staff, your principals, your teachers, whoever you want to share it with, go ahead and please do so. It's not currently up on the Educational Service Center website, but I did share it on my YouTube channel. And instead of going through all that, what I am going to do right now is I'm going to show you my website. It's StephanieDeMichele.com. That's me. I know my name looks like DeMichele. That's okay. I get called it all the time. So no worries. If you go to StephanieDeMichele.com, hold on, I've got chats here. Yes, everyone is being muted. I have muted everyone. You do have the capacity to unmute yourself, and I would encourage you to when it comes time to do questions. So anyway, if you go to StephanieDeMichele.com, Stephanie normal, and then DeMichele.com, I have created, in response to all of the stuff I've been doing in the last 2 weeks, I've created a special tab on my website called COVID-19. Please join it. If you click on it, I have all of the resources that I've been creating and curating over the last 2 weeks. The most recent, actually, I did a YouTube live chat last night with Matt Miller from Ditch That Textbook. And the chat itself is worth its weight in gold. We actually asked teachers all over the country what they were doing, what they were sharing, how it was going. We got some great ideas. So that is on there. Here is the webinar I did on Wednesday. That's there if you'd like to have that, and it goes directly to my YouTube channel. Here is a quick start guide that I created about 2 weeks ago. When everyone started coming to me with questions and thoughts, I thought, why don't I just put everything into one location? It's an ebook, and I'm updating it almost daily. So that's there. I did a Twitter chat, and the contents of the questions are all there as well, so feel free. But yeah, I'm going to be updating everything on my website and my YouTube channel. So now I will stop and say, are there any questions? And if someone would like to unmute their microphone and ask a question, please go ahead and do so. Okay, no questions. All right, good. So we're going to go ahead here and get started. Okay, I'm just, my name again is Stephanie DeMichele. I am a digital learning designer and coach with the Educational Service Center of Northeast Ohio. I'm honored that you would take time out of your day to join me. We'll be here for about an hour. I will also be providing you with a lot of resources. If you want to write them down, absolutely feel free to. But what I have created, and I'm going to share it with you right now, I have created a Google Doc with everything that we talk about today and all of the links. And all you need to do, and if you want to access it right now while we're in the webinar and look through it, that's fine. By all means, do so. It's the shortened URL is bit.ly/SD instruction. I'll say that again, bit.ly/SD as in David, instruction. And you have there, someone's already joined us. We have the anonymous otter and the anonymous dingo joining us right now. Good. By all means, this is yours to keep. You can add it to your Google Drive. I'm not going to get rid of it, and it's yours to keep, and it has all of today's links that we'll be talking about. Okay, so let me get back to my slideshow. If you don't know me, you're probably lucky, because I think the people who know me kind of regret it. I'm just kidding. I've been doing this for a while now. I'm an ed tech junkie, but I started out as a high school English teacher in the 90s, took some time off to raise my kids, came back to the world of ed tech, fell in love with it, had my first paperless classroom in 2008 and haven't looked back since. I have been a technology teacher, a gifted and talented program developer and teacher, a tech coach, a district technology coordinator, and now I'm working with the Educational Service Center of Northeast Ohio. As you can see there on the slide on the right, I'm certified in all of these things. So if you have any questions in terms of these ed tech tools, by all means, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Pretty much the only place you cannot find me is like smoke signal. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Twitter. Twitter's the best way to get in touch with me. And speaking of Twitter, if you are not on Twitter, I highly encourage you to do so and follow other educators. Twitter is my personal learning network. I get the best ideas from people. I get the absolute best ideas from everyone. Here on the chat, will you put your address here for access, please? My access, hold on. Yes, I will repeat. In fact, I'm going to put the link to everyone. Let's see, we'll put link. I'm going to put the link here to my website in the chat. Okay, and I'm going to put the link to our document right here as well. My pleasure. Okay, SD instruction. Okay, that B in the BIT, unfortunately, it should be a small b, but it just automatically capitalized. So I apologize. To share this, you share it like you would any other Google Doc. You would just go ahead and share the link out. Anyone who has that link can view it. It's absolutely fine. So just go ahead and share the link. Okay. Hong, I'm sorry, I'm not understanding what you're saying. Add you to, I'm not quite sure what I want to add you to. If you could clarify, I would greatly appreciate that. Okay. So yes, if you do have any questions about any of these things, by all means, please reach out to me. I will have my contact information here at the end. All right, here's what we're going to cover today. If Wednesday was any indication, it goes very fast, and I apologize. I hate to be that person who throws things at you like it's coming out of a fire hose. But like I said, I'm here, and I'm only going to give you stuff that works. Okay, so the first thing we are going to talk about today, when it comes to instructional delivery during remote learning, when we do remote learning, we cannot, and I mean this is the very first thing, you cannot just take what you've been doing and transfer it online. There's a whole new way of doing things. And the very first thing I want you to remember is to follow the rule of 3. And what that means, and I'm going to explain that after this. I learned the rule of 3 from someone I follow on Twitter, and I read a blog post about 2.5 weeks ago when all of this was starting to go down about how we need to teach remotely. And this teacher, Jennifer Pearson, who actually teaches in China and in a remote school, does distance learning, she said, what you will soon come to find out about online learning is this. It takes twice, ironically enough, it takes twice as long to do half as much. So in the last 2.5 weeks, what I've been hearing from a lot of teachers on Twitter is you have to take the idea of what you were going to do and have it. And then you might have to cut it in half again. So we kind of want to lower our expectations in terms of what our students can do. I'm going to explain that right now. You want to, before you even start worrying about the technology, you want to consider the fact that you want to cover 3 lessons or subjects per day. Not all 6, not all 7, not all 8. 3 subjects or lessons per day with 3 activities within those lessons. And those activities should be the following: brief instruction, whether it's direct, asynchronous, or synchronous, so meaning in real time or recorded. Opportunities for students to create and or collaborate, because collaboration and community right now, in light of what we've got going on, we need to worry more about creating a community and getting our students to buy in instead of just covering content. And finally, you want to add a quick formative piece. And I don't mean a fill in the blank or a multiple choice like we're used to, but just there's enough technology out there that we can get some quick pulse checks from our students. So with that said, for example, you might want to consider one day doing language, depending on your building. And I know my son, who is a senior in high school right now, my younger son, that's what his school is doing. They're breaking it up. They're not doing all subjects every day. They made a schedule and they're breaking it up. So you might want to consider on the first day language arts, social studies, and math. And the next day could be science and art and world languages. You decide among your building or your staff or your team teachers how you want to divide that up. But I will argue till I'm blue in the face that you want to keep it to 3. 3 lessons per day, 3 activities per lesson. I know 2 weeks ago when I was working with an intermediate school principal, just like, no, that's crazy. I don't agree with it. And now that we've seen and heard anecdotal stories from teachers, like I said, a lot of my information comes from teachers I connect with on Twitter. This is what we're finding that works. Especially if you get a chance to listen to the webinar I did with Matt Miller last night, we do talk about the idea of community over content. At this point in the game, we're not worried about, hey, we've got to cover all the standards. Honestly, I heard a really good piece of advice last night that I'm going to share with you off the cuff. A couple of districts are just doing review. And then I was like, ugh, review. Who just wants to do review? But they were coming up with ways to do review in fun, engaging ways, whether they're allowing students to actually pursue passion projects based on what they've learned, or they're gamifying their review. So that's something to consider too as you get your content together. Okay, that was a lot of talking on my part. Anyone want to unmute their mic and ask a question? Okay.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, by all means, go ahead.
Yeah, so my school, what we did initially, just to get some things together quickly, we did it had 9 activities and we did 2 of those per week. Is it better to have 3 things per day or a set of things for the week?
Okay, that's a really good question. I think it actually, well, first of all, I'm going to be like, well, 9, 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 9. But I think it depends on your audience, what's age appropriate, and how well you know your students. I have seen some teachers putting out a week's worth of material.
Mm-hmm.
That could work for older students who are planners. I think our younger, what grades do you teach?
Oh, it was for elementary.
Okay. Yeah, I think elementary you might want to do, that's my opinion. I think you might want to do a day at a time because it can be overwhelming.
3 activities per day.
3 lessons with 3 activities within it. And speaking of, and I'll explain why in a little bit here, right here. Are you all done with that question?
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Cool, I'm going to mute you again. No offense, don't be offended. Okay. There is also a practical reason for this. We have to consider that the same work isn't going always to the same homes. There are siblings right now, older siblings, who are having to watch their younger siblings while we have some essential workers going out to work. We also have to consider Wi-Fi accessibility. Hey, right, I have good Wi-Fi, but right now I have a kid home from college for the rest of the year, a kid home from high school, And my fiance's downstairs working remotely, and I'm working remotely. And it's a lot of Wi-Fi. Like I had to kick everybody off for the next hour. So we have to consider that. We also have to consider the number of devices that are available in a home, and we need to consider the special needs of our students. With that said, let's talk about how you start organizing all of your work. So the first thing you want to, before you start getting yourself set up, if you are using Google Classroom, and if you're not, just bear with me. Hold on, I'm just gonna quickly dip into the chat here. My school is special area, Gail, how do special area teachers fit into this model? I'm gonna show you that in a minute. I was working with a school where the special teachers were fitting in. Who's making the decisions for the school from Amy. This is a conversation you need to have with your administration. This should be a whole school decision or a whole district decision. I've seen it done all over the place differently. Some teachers aren't getting administrative guidance, and they're kind of going on their own because they do know what's best for their students. Amanda, wow, that's a lot. 6.5 hours per day, whether it's grading. Oh, you're supposed to require. That makes sense. Actually, in Indiana, what they're doing is they're doing Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays now are learning for students, and Tuesdays and Thursdays are waiver days for teachers to do planning and prep and learning, which I love, 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 love. Okay, so if you have Google Classroom, you're pretty lucky. If you don't, hang tight. Go check your email or your Facebook or whatever you want to do. But if you have, this is an idea I borrowed from Casey Bell from Twitter at Shake Up Learning. She also has a great blog post. She said for the time being, what you might want to do, and I'm sorry, to the person who, I know your name is not Sandra, but it says Sandra on here. What you might want to do is consider, with the topics in Google Classroom, making a topic called Today's Work and putting today's work within, by subject, underneath that topic. And then once today's work is done, you go ahead and you move it and or you just change the topic and give it a new topic. So lessons for March 9th, lessons for March 10th, lessons for March 11th. But today's work is a great way, I think, to organize everybody's work in one place and makes it easy for students to follow. This is for the teacher who asked about specials. I work with a great principal at Crestwood Intermediate School. Her name is Michelle Gerbrick. She is a rock star. When we were setting up classes for her school a couple weeks ago, we set up temporary grade level Google Classrooms. So third grade had its own classroom. All the teachers were co-collaborators or co-teachers in the third grade classroom. All teachers were co-collaborators in the fourth grade teacher. Then those teachers also granted co-teacher access to specials teachers, intervention specialists, OT, and other support teachers. That way, our specials teachers, using the Assign to Students feature in Google Classroom, and if you are not familiar with that, type a note to me in the chat, because what I will be doing on this document that we're sharing today, when we're done today, I'm going to take all of the questions that were in our chat and I'm going to answer them here. So it will be on our Google. So if you have a question, please go ahead and type it in the chat and I will answer it after our webinar today. Okay, so let me get back to, whoops, that. Sorry, okay. So that is a way, if you're not familiar with how to do the assign to individual students in Google Classroom, I'm happy to give you a screenshot of that and share it with you. And then what they also did in her school is the specials created their own collaborative classroom. So again, it's the less windows you have for kids to open and click on, the better. Any questions about that? Okay, cool. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Now, if you do not have Google Classroom, what I did is I've made this template, and it is also on our Google Doc that I'm sharing with you. I've created this template in Google Slides. You can use it and modify it all you want, or you can like make your own version of it if you want. If this is just a simple template that you could send out for each subject each day. So as I was a former high school English teacher, I would type the subject in there. In fact, let me make it a little bigger for everybody to see. There you go. So it's just a Google slide. And I have a link to it in our Google Doc. And like I said, you could go ahead and put a video in that little box where the laptop is, and then replace that text with directions for your students. So again, everything is there that you need. If you don't have Google Classroom, hey, you could use PowerPoint too. Just use a PowerPoint. If your school's a Microsoft school, by all means, go ahead and feel free to copy this and make it for your own use. All right, let me get out of there. All right, next up, this is why Twitter is the bomb. I found this by Marilyn McAllister. She is a teacher in California. So what she's doing, and let me go to the Google Doc, and I want to show you, whoops, hold on, move that over, show you what it looks like in real life. Here it is, Marilyn McAllister's Google Slides lesson template. Let me show you what it looks like in real life. So she created this. Now this is where she's sending it out for the week to her students. So my not Sandra, this kind of might fit in with what you were talking about. So she created these virtual learning opportunities in Google Slides, and you can also copy it into PowerPoint. She has her activities for the week, and this is a template for other people to follow. Her kids go to Clever, log into Prodigy. They're going to give she gives them directions on what they have to do. And here's their reflection or formative assessment piece. She does the same with Scholastic. She gives them directions. She explains what they need to do. And she gives them places to reflect and take notes. What I really, 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 really like is the fact that she created these learning badges for her kids. So what she's doing with them is once they finish these activities, instead of grades, they're getting these badges, and then she's allowing them to think of ways that they can go ahead and create their own like badge display case. And you can even go so far as to make a leaderboard for your classroom for all of the kids who earn these badges. So that, again, is there for you to take. All you would need to do to make your own, because it's view only, is you would do File, make a copy. And you could make a copy of that in Google for yourself and change it up any way you would want to. Any questions? Okay, great. Let's keep going. Okay, next up, let's see, what have we got here? Okay, now, if you don't have Google Classroom, if you don't have Google, I am not necessarily familiar with Microsoft. I know that a lot of teachers, because Microsoft doesn't have a classroom, a lot of teachers are using Teams. So that seems to work as well. But if you don't have Google Classroom and you want to keep it simple, send a daily checklist. Just email it to your students on a daily basis. Just a checklist of activities that they should do. Now, again, in terms of scheduling, let's consider age appropriateness when we're designing lessons for your students. Students in K, I love these little nuggets. I love them to death, but they're like squirrels out in my yard right now. They're all over the place, and they don't have the attention span to necessarily sit at a computer for a long time. So you want to consider 15 minutes per lesson for students in K1, 30 minutes per lesson for students in 2-3, 45 minutes for students in grades 4 through 5, about 60 minutes for students in grades 6 through 8, and about 75 to 90 minutes per lesson for students in 9 through 12. Now, I will tell you, from my own experience, living at home with a high school senior, he's doing a pretty good job. And the teachers are also making sure they're built. Now, if you didn't get to attend my webinar on Wednesday about video tools for learners, I'm just going to give you a little bit of information here. Build in some conference hours. He just checked in with his pre-calculus teacher. the pre-calculus teacher said, I want to, you know, he's got a list. He's checking it twice. He's like, I want to check in with everybody at least 2 minutes this week. I want to hear your questions. I want to hear what's going on. Some teachers are using either Zoom or Google Meet or Google Hangouts for office hours. But if you do get a chance, if you want to learn how to connect with your students using video, by all means, check out my webinar from Wednesday. You can pause, replay, speed through, whatever you need to do. All right, let me take a minute here to look at chat questions. Classwork, yep, checklists. Google Stream can be overwhelming. In fact, you know what? Let me share something with you. I'm teaching an online course right now for Book Creator. And what I do with my stream, because to me, the stream seems totally redundant. You know, I want students going to classwork. So what I do over here with the gear is I go down to General and see where it says classwork on the stream. I make sure to hide notifications. I save my Google Classroom stream for announcements only. I don't want classwork announcements being there because I find it's unnecessarily confusing for the students. So again, all you need to do from your classwork page is go to your gear. Hold on, let me get out of there. You're going to go to your gear, go down to General, and hit classwork on the stream, hide notifications. Hopefully that'll help you. It clear up some clarification. Because like I said, I only use my stream for big announcements. Okay. Any questions? Okay, we're going to continue forward. All right, next up. Also, we are all in this together. There is no need for you. This would be a great time to lesson share with other teachers in your district. Why not combine? When I was an English teacher, I had an opportunity to co-teach with a social studies teacher for a year. And boy, was it great, not only to share the load, but to bounce ideas off of each other and to really show the kids that learning isn't in isolation. So this is a really opportune time to reach out to another teacher. We don't want to forget our specials teachers. I think this is a really great idea to incorporate our specials teachers into this learning time and doing some collaboration if at all possible. Okay, so we have talked right now about the rule of 3. We've talked about how to set yourself up to deliver it. Now let's look at the tools. Okay, we're going to take a deep breath here because this will be overwhelming and I wish I could make it not overwhelming, and this is the only thing I can say to you. I only choose tools that are easy. I will only recommend tools that will get you up and running in under 10 minutes. So with that said, dun, da, 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 these are my must-have tools for your remote learning classroom. And I say that I'm not getting paid. I don't have an endorsement deal because if I did, I'd be living in an over-the-water hut in Fiji. These are the tools that you will find that are so easy peasy you won't even believe it. Screencastify is a screencasting tool that allows you to take pictures of what you're already doing on your screen. In fact, let me show you. It is a Chrome extension. It's right up here. I've had it installed. And what you do, I'll show you. I'm going to get started. You have the opportunity to share your desktop with your students. You can walk through a concept with them. You can enable the microphone if you want to give them verbal instructions. You can turn off your webcam, but I'm going to beg you, please don't. In this time, our students need to see our faces. Sometimes we're the only consistency for these little kiddos and big kiddos too. So I'm going to ask that you keep your microphone and webcam on when you record. So here's an example. I'm going to hit record. I'm going to get, I can choose an application, a window, or just my entire screen. I hit share. I get a countdown. Hi, kiddos. This is me teaching you how to use Screencastify. First thing you'll want to do is put it up here in your Chrome extension. So you can do that and you'll be able to click it on. And you can, let's go through the first thing we need to do. Let's talk about our courses that we're going to take. All right, so when you get to this page, you're going to want to click the Get Started button, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm going to hit Stop Sharing. Now what it does, it automatically generates what I've just created. So you can see it there. It's automatically creating what I've just done. I have the ability to share it to Classroom, publish it to YouTube, embed it in my website, or simply get a shareable link to send out to my kids. They are free right now because of COVID-19. In fact, I'm going to show you where it goes. So once you create the Screencastify video, that's all you need to do. It does all the work for you. And then what it does here, this is the best part, it automatically loads it. It creates a folder for you, and it automatically loads all of your videos. So these are all, like I said, I'm a coach, so I make a lot of videos for other people. These are all of my Screencastify videos. And it's that easy. And there are a lot out there. There's Loom, there's IORAD, there's all kinds of other things. I like Screencastify. It's easy. And I literally was up and running with it in under 10 minutes. Another tool that I also recommend is Flipgrid. If you have been using Flipgrid, then you know. And here's why I love Flipgrid. Well, I love Flipgrid for a lot of reasons, but it's free always, forever. Microsoft sponsors it. It will be free for teachers. It's great for social learning. Okay, this is being a pill. I'm going to remove this over there. Okay, here's an example. Let me show you of Flipgrid. You sign in. A grid is actually a classroom. They just call it a grid. And here's my classroom. And what you do is you ask something of your students. That's how you start out. You start out just simply asking a question. So for example, I do a lot of, because I do a lot of professional development, I don't have a lot of students here, but here's an example of a question that I asked recently of my students. For this Flipgrid thinking activity, we're going to use a very common thinking routine for students. So take a look at the Hyperdoc template and then answer these 3 questions. What do you see? I try to get fancy. What do you think? And what do you wonder? It's that simple. Be sure to watch. Okay. So I give them instructions, and then my students respond with video. This appeals so much to our selfie generation. And also the best part is, so here, let me show you an example. Let me show you what my friend Regina said, or Christine. Christine had some good stuff. So the students respond back to you.
Okay, so in my response to the basic Hyperdoc template.
All right, so I'm gonna go back to the student response. I have multiple ways to offer feedback. They give you a rubric for, you can grade their ideas and their performance. You can provide private feedback that will be emailed to them. Or you can also go ahead and provide a video response. So here was Christine's response, but Kathy in our class gave her video response.
Hey Christine, I noticed the same, that the lesson seems to be, the format seems to be similar to what we learned in teacher school about how to format a lesson.
Okay. It's social learning, it's connections, and and it's free and easy. And in fact, I'm going to show you how fabulous this is. If you sign up for Flipgrid, you get access to the DISCO library, which is short for Discovery Library. You will find things created by other companies, other teachers. You want to do a breakout EDU? Here you go. Go borrow something. Don't reinvent the wheel. What makes me so happy, though, right now is what Flipgrid has created in light of COVID-19, the learning from home. They've got a whole bunch of activities here called Learning from Home. And you can borrow them and send them out to your students. What's in your bag? Would you rather? I love the would you rather stuff. And you don't have to record yourself. Some teachers don't. But again, I'm a big fan, not because I'm a narcissist. I promise you I'm not. It's important for the kids to see your face. It's important to connect with them. So here you go. There's a would you rather game, and the students get to respond to it. These are all great ideas that are a little different than normal in-school face-to-face learning. So by all means, I recommend you check out Flipgrid. Next up is Book Creator. In fact, as you saw, I'm teaching right now an online course in Book Creator. Book Creator is great. Okay, you want to take the burden of learning off you and put it on your students, have them write a book or a comic book or a graphic novel. So here's an example of, let's see, here's a book oh, this is the best part. I'm sorry, when you sign up for Book Creator, and by the way, they're free too right now, I think until July 1st, all of their, it's normally free, but their premium features are also free for a while. When you sign up for Book Creator, they give you a tutorial to get you started. So I'm teaching this class right now, and all the teachers I'm working with said this tutorial was the greatest thing they ever did, and they were making their own books in less than an hour. So in fact, let me show you, this was a book I wrote for a math teacher. So you can see, in fact, actually, let me show you what it looks like as you read it. All right, hold on, let me do this. So you read it, it opens up, you can add pictures, you can add hyperlinks, Bitmojis, you can embed Edpuzzle videos or Flipgrid videos if you wanted to. See, here was a Flipgrid video I embedded. Let me show you, because I'm teaching this class, if you have kids, if you have students who love comic books, you will love this option. And, oh, and you can collaborate. That's the best part too. So for example, I made my syllabus for the class as a comic because they have a comic book feature. So instead of doing a boring syllabus, I put it into a comic. But the other part is you can have students collaborate on books. So this was a task I assigned my students. Let's see, where's task 1? Okay, tell us about yourself by filling in the template on the following pages. So I gave students access to my library, and they went ahead and created their own pages in our book, and we got to learn about everybody. So Jessica's an art teacher, and Gina and Arthea, everybody added a page, and we got to know a little bit about each other. I cannot tell you, I think that the possibilities for Book Creator are endless. Have students create a book about themselves. Have students create a book about ancient Egypt. Have students create a book about their day. Have students create about anything. I think it's also great for our special needs learners who want to express themselves. So again, with that tutorial, you'll be up and running with Book Creator. Easy peasy. I know, I feel so badly. I've thrown a lot at you, but if you have these 5, you're good. And we're going to talk about how to make this more manageable for you. You do not need to learn all of these things before you start remote learning. Pick one. My next favorite is Edpuzzle. Edpuzzle is a way, because video is powerful and video is a necessity for remote learning. In Edpuzzle, you show kids a video and you embed questions into it. So, and they cannot move forward in the video until they've answered the question. So it's also a great formative assessment tool. It's great for front loading to get an idea of where students are. It's great to understand also students can think about when you show a video to the class, how do you know everyone's watching? How do you know everyone's getting it? Edpuzzle, it's perfect for differentiated instruction because students can stop and rewatch and go back over things. So let me show you an example of, so these are some Edpuzzles that I've created. So as you can see, I've got questions embedded all along the video. So here we are, we're watching the video. It stops. Here's a question. Can technology replace good teaching? Why or why not? Kids have to answer the question. They submit it. and then they go ahead. Now,
technology
this is
a
the
piece.
teacher
I'm just wondering-
version, so that's why you're not seeing it. So we watch it a little more. And then I ask the question, what tech tool have you most recently used to support a lesson? Then what happens is that, oops, excuse me, I'm able to, in fact, let me, no, not that one. This one should be able to give me information about all of the students. Hold on. Here we go, gradebook. When I go to gradebook, oh, not that one. Darn it, I apologize. It was the copy. When I go to gradebook, oh, it's been closed out. I apologize. But here is where you would see how long each student watched a portion, how they answered the questions. If you have open-ended questions that you need to grade, that's where you go ahead and grade them. If you have multiple choice questions, you can set it up to auto grade for yourself. Edpuzzle, again, you'll be up and running in 10 minutes. And finally, my last favorite tool of the top 5 that I think you need to have for remote learning, Quizlet. Simple, online flashcards. Online flashcards, but when we think of flashcards, we think of always like vocabulary or things like that. But here was something I made for a 3rd grade class. It doesn't just have to be about vocabulary. This was, and they have the opportunity, it's not just flashcards, to practice learning. It keeps track of what they know and what they don't know, and it makes suggestions based on artificial intelligence as to what students individually need to practice more on. It also has fun games here that kiddos can play. There's a match game and there's a gravity game. Quizlet Live, when you do get back in your classrooms, Quizlet Live is the game you want to play, but you can't necessarily do it, unfortunately. That is a face-to-face game. But again, super easy. You're making flashcards. There are also tons. You can search for anything you need. This is the beauty of the internet. Remember in the 80s and 90s when we had to do stuff all on our own and we had to mimeograph and Xerox it? Everything's out there for people to use. Okay, someone might be using my Wi-Fi because it is cycling through. Sorry about that. So yeah, all you need to do is you can go ahead and search for anything. Let's type in, oh, I don't know, how about mitosis? And you'll see there are sets created by their teachers that you can modify and use on your own. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that just because we're going to remote instruction doesn't mean that you need to sit on a screen for 7 hours a day lecturing at students. There are ways to deliver instruction that have nothing to do with necessarily talking it through and lecturing at people. Questions? Okay. Now, this next slide is going to be a little overwhelming, and I'm going to explain just something real quickly. Once you feel, wherever you are on the spectrum, if you are just a newbie with educational technology, then I recommend you start with those first 5. And you just get comfortable with those. If you're a little more advanced and you want some other good ideas, you know what? Here they are. You don't need to use them now. You can use them next school year, even when we're face-to-face. I just want the information to be out there. And they are in our notes. So as you can see, I've put information here, a quick start guide for Screencastify, getting started guide for Flipgrid, resources for Book Creator, Edpuzzle Help Center, and Quizlet. What I'm going to discuss next are these ideas. And I'm actually not going to spend a lot of time necessarily discussing them because I feel, again, I don't want to overwhelm people. But if you are an advanced tech user and you feel that you can take on some of these ideas, I certainly would. You can create a YouTube playlist of curated content. So if you have good videos that you want to send to students, make a playlist of the videos. This link will easily tell you how to do that. Hyperdocs. I just finished teaching a Hyperdoc online class. These are for very advanced users. A lot of people think a hyperdoc is just a Google Doc with links. It's not. Hyperdocs have places for collaboration, creation, reflection. But if you'd like to start small, you can click this link and look for some examples to borrow. If you prefer, you don't want to use Screencastify and you're very comfortable just using Google Slides for instruction, Alice Keeler has some great ideas here for people to share about how to use a template to deliver things with Google Slides. See, she just has things that are like a slide with announcements. Oh, that's for her Go Slow workshop. I apologize. Clicked the wrong link. And it does allow you to work offline. So this is a good blog post. If you want to keep it simple and just do Google Slides, that's a great post. You can also do Google Slides with instruction built in. Take a look at that. You can record, use Screencastify. Build your Google Slides for instruction, and then go ahead and record your Google Slides presentation with Screencastify as you're talking about. I love this idea from Caitlin Tucker. I follow her on Twitter. She's a genius. She creates these playlist paths. My kid's texting me. Are you off the internet yet? No. Okay, sorry. Playlists are paths to personalized learning. And she's got some great activities. So see, you can see here, it's just a Google Doc with the path, directions, and notes. And then she's got like a little stop sign there. Now this is what they normally do in class, but you could adapt this for remote learning by having students just, whether you do a Google Hangout or a Zoom meeting. These are some great ideas too. I do love Caitlin's ideas. She's got great ideas. She also just posted last week on her blog that I follow a 5E instructional model. This might be helpful for scaffolding. For those of you who don't know necessarily where to begin, I would highly recommend this. It's a simple Google Doc, not a hyperdoc. It's just a Google Doc with directions where there's an element for engagement, exploration, explanation, elaboration, and evaluation. Also, Khan Academy. They are my knight in shining armor right now. They just came up with this. They came up with these student schedules for preschool, kindergarten, first, second grade. You could share with your students. They've got some great video ideas and lesson ideas for you. You don't have to do this alone. There's grades 3 through 5. Grades 6 through 9. It's also be great to share with your families who have multiple ages of learners. Yeah, Khan Academy came to our rescue this week. So they've got some good ideas there. Edpuzzle, which we've talked about. Those of you who use Kahoot, they've got a template here. A lot of people use Kahoot just for review. I like to use Kahoot to teach. We call it a blind Kahoot, where you're front-loading information. It's a gamified approach to learning. Here's a great link. They'll give you a template. You just fill in the blanks. So you're introducing a new concept with a blind question, something they might not even know. How would you do a Kahoot with, we're always thinking about it for review. So there's a great example here of, speaking of mitosis, that must be why I had it on the brain, with a template to follow. Also, if you do have Pear Deck for your school, you can go at Pear Deck if you've been using it in the classroom. Just wanted to share this. It might not have come to your head. If you're not using Pear Deck, I would put this on the to-do list to learn over the summer. It's great for interactivity and learning. This idea, flipping with Google Forms. Whoever thought about using Google Forms for instruction? Did you know? I mean, you can add video. You can add a YouTube video to a Google form. And then you can go ahead and ask questions. And what I like about this flipped Google form is that it's just, you know what? It's not necessarily right or wrong, especially this part where do you get ideas when you get stumped? You can ask ideas of them. Also, if you're looking for online materials, I have a a large collection that I vetted for you of open education resources. These are, I've categorized them by subject matter, but if you're looking for things to do, so for example, I did mention Would You Rather Math. I think Would You Rather Math is one of the most fun things you could ever do with kids. Let's see. Actually, the things that have stars are my personal favorites. If you're looking for learning ideas right now, I'd say one-stop shop, go to PBS Learning Media. Click this link. They've got lots of interactives and activities for you to do. So feel free to take a look at that as well. All right. These are some of the latest. This just came out yesterday. There was a post from Google that came out yesterday. They've got some teach from home ideas. I want to share this. So if you're having questions about how do I teach remotely with video calls, they've got you set up. How do I teach remotely without video calls? Practical ideas. How do I make lessons accessible to all? More practical ideas. That came out yesterday. Also, they have, I'm going to fix that link. That's a faulty link, but they did come out with Learn at Home with YouTube. Matt Miller from Ditch That Textbook has created an e-learning hub that is available for anyone. He's got it nicely categorized with a quick navigation. And he and Holly Clark, who wrote the Google Infused Classroom book, and I do a book study on that too. It's a great book. They've come up with great categories for online learning ideas as well. So my point in all of this is you are not alone. There's tons of stuff out there. Borrow away. It's what it's there for. Also, just before we go, I wanted to mention, so I will take all of your questions today from the chat, and I'm going to put them in here. Also, if you have also offered some in the chat great ideas for other educators, I'm going to put it here under tips and tricks. And finally, I took you to the website. You can get my quick start guide to distance learning, but you've already got enough. Make sure, please, that you do fill out this link so that you can get a professional development certificate for attending today's webinar. Okay, we have 4 more minutes. I wanted to finish in a timely manner. Does anyone have any questions? And again, I just want to apologize if I've overwhelmed anybody, but question away, go for it. Bueller. Anybody? Okay, maybe I'll go ahead and check the chat here, see if there's anything I can add. Oh, Casey, I'm glad. Casey said this is just what how do we get the certification? Absolutely, just go and click this link on the Google Doc that says get your PD certificate. It's a Google form. I'm glad to hear the feedback. I appreciate it because I get so overwhelmed. I feel like I overwhelm people, but I also hope that having everything, I just want to finish with this. I want to finish with my best advice for you. Hold on, let me get out of the chat. Okay. I want to share my best advice for you. Number 1, pick one thing. You learned a lot today. You don't need to know everything. I know we think we need to. Pick one thing that piqued your interest. Was it Flipgrid, Book Creator, Screencastify? Pick it. Start with it. Get good at it. When you feel comfortable, move on to the next thing. Next, baby steps. So when you do find that one thing, you don't have to know all of the features in it. Even if you just, like Flipgrid, for example, I still don't know all the features in Flipgrid. I'm just going right now with what I'm comfortable with. And then when I get comfortable with that, I'll start learning more. Baby steps. Can't walk before you crawl. Also, play. Play in the digital sandbox. Remember when we were kids and we'd be at the sandbox or at the beach and we built stuff and we didn't like the way it looked and we'd knock it down, but you learned what worked better the next time. So if you do have the opportunity, if you're on spring break and you've got a little bit of time to play right now, play. Go into Book Creator and make your own comic book. Have fun. We learn by doing. And finally, my last piece of advice is be a superhero to your kids, but be a vulnerable superhero. And what I mean by that is Tony Stark was Iron Man, and he was pretty powerful. But it wasn't until the end of the series of the Marvel Cinematic Universe he realized that he needed the other Avengers. We are better together. So what I mean by that is if you want to introduce any of these tools to your kids and you don't feel comfortable because you don't know everything, it's okay. Reach out to the kids. Say, hey, I want to learn this new tool. Can we learn it together? I might not be great at it. I might make mistakes. I might screw up. You might be better at it, but let's learn together. So be that vulnerable superhero for your kids. We've got the links I've shared. I think I've shared out everything. Yep, you have all of the links you need from today. My contact information is right here. If here's the beauty of what's been going on lately. Here's the silver lining. My services are free until this is all over. So email me, text me, tweet me, do whatever you need. I'm here for you. I'm happy to answer questions. And I think that's it. Just be safe, be sane, be sanitary, take good care of yourself and each other. We are all in this together. And it was an absolute pleasure. It's 1 o'clock. We ended on time. It was an absolute pleasure. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was useful. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.